all the time. Go ahead. How about the death penalty? Well, suppose you looked at the statistics for the last 40 years. High school graduation rates have plummeted. The numbers of abortions in America have skyrocketed. The numbers of children that are born, unwanted children is a tough thing to measure, but abandoned children. And do you know that today in America, less than half of all children are born to a married father and mother? And in Washington, D.C., it's less than 10%. Now, are these things that the number of people in prison today is about doubled since 1985. If throwing people in jail was the answer, we should be much closer to the answer than we were 20 years ago. I would encourage you to do something. Don't let anybody tell you how to think about this. Go to the Statistical Abstract of the United States. It's a wonderful free document on the web. Statistical Abstract of the United States. And they don't have anybody telling you how to feel about stuff. What they've got are data. Look at some of the data of what's happened to America in the last 40 years. And you know what? I've got a theory on that. My theory is we have flourishing capitalism in the suburbs and crumbling socialism in the inner city. And if that doesn't bother you, it should. America works really great for people like you and me. If you're smart, if you're well educated, and have learned the value of work, you got the world by the tail, and you're swinging it hard over your head. If you're not so smart, you don't have supportive parents and a supportive family environment, and you're not well educated, success is a mystery. I think you should worry about that. I think you should worry about that a lot. More than just worry about it, I think you should do something about it. You know, everybody's talking about Bush. I'm sick of talking about Bush. I'd like to have the guy that came up with that compassionate conservative line and ask him what the hell was compassionate or conservative about the Bush administration. They had a $152 billion stimulus last spring. Nobody thinks that did any good whatsoever. Now, we're taking it big time. We're 5 times in it. Do words like ridiculous jump to mind? I mean, if something doesn't work, I think you should quit. Why would you want to pay fraudulent buyers to fix liar loans? Why would you want to cover the losses of deceitful lenders and gullible Wall Street investors? In an era where the biggest problem is the enormous growth and leverage, why does the federal government want to go ballistic and enormously enhance the amount of debt that we all have? And why do we take resources away from successful corporations like Toyota and give them to failing corporations like GM? And remember who the boss is. The consumer is the boss when you decide with your market decisions who wins and who loses. You're getting that taken away from you. What do you need for a bailout? Well, you need irrational behavior. Sometimes people do funny stuff. You need an unfamiliarity or a purposeful lack of disclosure about your knowledge of basic economics. And you need new and untested decision makers. Most people, most of the time, are pretty sensible. Most people don't keep hitting their thumb with the hammer. One is enough. However, sometimes people do funny stuff. Go figure. In the 1630s, tulip bulbs. How many of you know what a tulip is? You have no idea what a tulip is? You do? You do? Your hand doesn't work? It does? How many of you know what a tulip is? All right, it's like a little freaking flower. It's kind of cool, but it's just a freaking flower, right? Well, there was a time in Amsterdam when tulips, that got their name from the Turkish word for turban, got real popular with the money class. And then people who had money showed off by growing fancy tulips. And then pretty soon people who wanted to appear to be rich started growing fancy tulips. The price, they had tulip actuaries, they had tulip limited partnerships, they had a tulip exchange. The price of tulips skyrocketed, and I wrote a paper on this. The price of tulips went up to $35,000 for a tulip. A single tulip. Within 6 months of the peak, it was under a shilling, which is about $1 in today's money. And we have about 350 years of evidence that buying tulips for $30,000 is a pretty crazy thing to do. But you know what? Tech stock investors now admit it was crazy to pay billions of dollars for internet stocks that had no revenues or any prospect of revenues. My favorite was Peapod. They are going to deliver your groceries to your house over the internet. And I'm thinking, this ain't going to work because guys don't use shopping lists. And I'm on the way home, so I'm not out of the way. They can't save any money in transportation. Peapod died. That was before bailouts, or they'd still be around. How long is it going to take you to figure out that if consumers are in hock over their head, you don't make it better by ladling on the debt? When a conservative Republican administration gets its tossed out because they are spending like crazy drunken sailors on earmarks, how long is it going to take you to figure out that making earmarks part of the regular way of doing business is a bad idea? How long is it going to take? What's it going to take? Unfamiliarity with basic economic facts. The U.S. economic history is one of long, steady progress punctuated by short recession. The economic expansion that started in November of 2001 ended in 2007 in December. Since 1945, the average duration of cyclical contractions has been about 10 months. Our economic history is one where you have short, sharp recessions and long, steady growth. Today, we have a lot of untested decision makers. Most working adults have never experienced a serious economic recession. The last serious economic recession, there was a little bump in 2000, it was nothing. The last serious recession we had was in 1982, and the unemployment rate hit 10.8%. The March 2009 U.S. unemployment rate reached 8.5% in the current recession that is now 16 months old. Is this something that's never happened before? I don't know what to do because we're dying? No. This is a garden variety sort of economic recession that is being made enormously worse by unpredictable, arbitrary, and capricious public policy. Like many in Washington, it's not his fault. Barack has never experienced an economic recession as an adult. Heck, in 1982, he was transferring from Occidental College to Columbia. It'd be another 22 years before he was elected to the Senate, 26 years before he was elected president. With all due respect, he doesn't have a clue about what it's like to go through a recession. Now, one of the simplest pieces of advice you'll ever get that's really pretty good is if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. You know, if things aren't going well, maybe just stop. Failed economic policies of the Bush administration have greatly contributed to current problems. The mishandling, the arbitrary confiscation of Fannie and Freddie, the pushing Lehman Brothers into bankruptcy, the botched handling of the Bear Stearns, it scared, with due cause, it scared the living pea-jeebers out of any investor worldwide. Let's stop doing that. Confidence in basic free market principles has been shattered. We've got Barack, and he was brought in as a fresh face proposing change we could believe in. My only suggestion is, let's not reinvent Bush. Let's not out-Bush Bush. Let's do something different. Deflate the bailout bubble before it threatens your free and open society. Now, you might think that that's hyperbole. Oh, come on. It's a Frisbee park. It's a few cars that nobody wants. Lighten fricking up. Right? Right?